Hi everyone! Welcome to another 5 minutes of British literature to help with this week's reading. Let's talk about the rise of the middle and working classes. During the 12th and 13th centuries, England experienced an increase in urbanization. Towns and cities steadily sprang up all over the country, which enabled those areas to support a wider variety of craftsmen, tradesmen, and merchants. England's economy remained primarily agricultural for centuries, but in the later Middle Ages, the country saw a lot of economic diversification that paved the way for more manufacturing, more trade, and stronger economic ties among the English and between the English and the rest of the world. This congregation of merchants and craftsmen helped shape England's medieval culture. In the 13th and 14th centuries, craft guilds proliferated in the larger cities. These organizations gave craftsmen and tradesmen a framework in which to regulate their line of work and a community in which they could network and socialize with each other. Urban governments grew stronger and developed closer relationships with these guilds, and they were often financially reliant on the business generated by craftsmen and tradesmen. Local governments often approved changes to guild rules, enforced guild regulations, instituted licensing fees to do business within the city, and issued fines for breaking guild rules. The Great Famine and the Black Death of the 14th century also strengthened the economic and social positions of the middle and working classes. One of the perversely positive effects of these disasters was that the average quality of life increased for those who survived. Since the plague shrank towns and cities, residents of urban areas enjoyed more space and employment. Since labor everywhere was in short supply and high demand, laborers had more negotiating power for higher wages and better working conditions. The upper classes did not appreciate the increase in peasant power and tried to prevent laborers, craftsmen, and merchants from taking advantage of their newfound social power. They passed laws to cap wages, to freeze contracts, and to prohibit English people from below a certain rank from purchasing certain luxury goods, regulations known as sumptuary laws. The tensions between the aristocratic and working classes grew so intense in the southern regions of England that laborers formed an army in 1381 and marched on London to demand relief from taxation and an end to serfdom, an uprising known as the Peasants' Revolt, or Wat Tyler's Rebellion. The rebellion lasted for months, and by the time it was finally suppressed, over 1,500 rebels were dead, including the leaders. Despite backlash from aristocrats, these social changes persisted and spilled over into English culture, art, and literature, especially in towns and cities. The population density of cities and towns meant that these areas could sustain larger and more complex community initiatives, and the prosperity of the middle classes meant that they had more wealth to devote to community development, the arts, and of course the church. In larger cities, craft guilds produced elaborate street plays that focused on Bible stories, church doctrine, and character education lessons for lay people. These mystery plays were very popular. They tended to involve multiple acts and above-average production values, and the performances sometimes spanned the whole city, like a story-driven parade. They were almost always designed to reinforce church teachings and to emphasize the connectedness of the community's people, especially the importance of everyone knowing their place in the social fabric and fulfilling the social role that God assigned them. The rise of the middle classes in urban communities also spawned a bigger market for written literature, in which authors could wade into the cultural controversies of their time. In Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, the Pearl poet celebrates the traditional code of chivalry for knighthood while he explores the contradictions within that code. In the Canterbury Tales, Geoffrey Chaucer offers a rich tableau of late 14th century social ranks and roles. He includes stories from practically every available genre and characters from almost every walk of medieval life, and he jams them into one literary space where they can laugh, argue, and get to know the conditions of each other's lives, like a medieval version of the real world. He also includes his own subtle social commentary that literary scholars debate to this day. Is Chaucer mocking the social conventions of his time, or is he mocking those who disregard their social duties? Is he criticizing the social institutions of his world, or is he criticizing those who failed to uphold them? However you choose to interpret them, all these works contain an important common thread: the interdependence of people within a society. In this era, we see the metaphor of the body social come into popular use. The English of this period tended to see their communities as akin to a human body, in which everyone is connected and everyone needs to play their proper part in order for the body to function. Writers from Chaucer to Margery Kempe to the Pearl poet build their works on this concept of society. As a result, they were often willing to criticize those who abused their positions or violated the public trust, but usually ended up reinforcing the prevailing social conventions and power dynamics of their world. Thanks for watching, and do look back at the video on the Black Death for this week as well.